What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to a later version of Green Bay Rewind. I appreciate you guys all hanging out. It's a Thursday, throwing off the routine, but the holidays definitely threw off the entire routine for all of us. So if you're here watching, hanging out, appreciate you. I know a lot of people are still kind of on the holiday buzz, still doing stuff for the holidays. So I understand it's probably going to be a quieter episode, and I am a-okay with that. Other stuff definitely comes first. Family time, all that fun stuff definitely comes first. So appreciate you guys hanging out. How is everyone doing? How everyone have a good, safe holidays? I see a couple people in here so far hanging out. I see Derek checking in from South Dakota. Good to see you, Derek. Checking in on YouTube tonight. You're throwing me off here, man. And then we see Corey. I'm assuming Logan's with you. Good to see you two. We see Katie in Iowa. Merry Christmas to you as well, Katie. I hope Santa was good to you. And then Belmont Pickens. Is your first name Belmont? I think I asked you last episode for a first name. I generally like knowing first names because I see people who are here week in and week out, and it's always good to just say what's up by their name. So good to see you, Belmont, again. Tony in from Wyowega. Good to see you, Tony. Appreciate you guys checking in. I hope you all had a good, safe Christmas, just like Corey alluded to up above. I actually just got home not long ago. This afternoon, I got home from my brother's house. So it is good to be home. It was nice to see my family, but it is good to be home nonetheless. There's no place like home. I mean, so my wife and I have a 1-year-old. If you guys have watched, then you know that. But my brother has a guest room, which is really nice, guest space, which is really nice. But it's really difficult sleeping with a 1-year-old in our room because we put him in like a pack and play, and it's outside of his routine. It's outside of our routine. The temperature in my brother's house is a lot warmer than we keep it in our house because we like to sleep colder. So it throws off everything. My son, I feel like, was up a lot last night. He was up pretty early, so I'm kind of drained. But that is okay. We are moving on and continuing on. Keith, okay, yeah, awesome. So Corey must have got you hooked on the show. Appreciate Corey for sending that out. And if I'm not mistaken, Keith, I think you're Corey's dad, if my memory serves me. Good. I'll throw that in the memory bank. If I forget, if I ask again, my apologies. Tony, good to hear that you had an awesome Christmas. Yeah, dude. Katie, exactly. I'm a homebody, as it sounds like you are, and you get it. My brother did get me my new desk display here, which is Paul Hornung's rookie card. It's a graded rookie card from 1957, which is really, really cool. He said he actually got it for me after hearing one of my stories about Paul Hornung on the podcast or on the show, which is awesome because as a Vikings fan, that means he's watching at least bits and pieces of my show, which super cool piece. I'm a lover of Packers history, and to have that in my collection is really awesome. So shout out to my brother, Brett. I appreciate that. Well, what a game. That was a fun one. Nothing like I was at my brother's house for it. It was nothing like having a relaxing game for the holiday spirit. Tony the Great, I think it's a PSA 5. Let's see if I don't drop it. Yeah, PSA 5. I wasn't 1,000% confident, but I was pretty confident. So PSA 5, super awesome. It looks impeccable for a PSA 5. My brother does a ton of grading through PSA. He's like a PSA partner. I don't know how that got a PSA 5. It looks really great. I mean, there's some corner damage and stuff like that, but it looks really great. Josh, good to see you checking in again, man, from Indiana. I'm not doing the ticker tonight, in case you're wondering. The schedule's kind of all thrown off. I got to kind of figure that out where the dust settles later on. Anyone who misses tonight, I'm not counting against them. You know, I'm the one that's kind of throwing it off. Next week's going to be thrown off as well because it's New Year's Eve on Tuesday. So next week, we are going to be doing the show on Monday. The Packers play Sunday afternoon. Monday afterwards seems like a great time to talk about our final game of the week, which is blows my mind that we are at that point already. So, but what I will tell you is we are still doing a giveaway. And before I get too crazy into things, let's grab this form. Let me make sure that I'm pasting the right form. 12/26, that is today. So let's get this posted. If you're new to the show, if you haven't checked in before, there is a form right there. Please enter only one time. And you need to be here to claim your prize. If you're not here, we will be forfeiting that prize. So please enter only one time and check in periodically. You don't have to be watching the entire show. Just check in periodically. See some more people checking in. I got Iowa Joe here critiquing me. Good to see Iowa Joe. Liz, good to see you. Hit the wrong thing. I got a comment. We got Swag Coda. Hope you had a good Christmas, Swag Coda. Matt, my boy, Matt Ramage. Good to see you, man. Always good to see you. Maybe one day you and I need to team up on something together. I think we need to. I know we talk about that often in text, and I know it's really busy with my 1-year-old, but I think we need to figure out something, man. It's always good to see you, man. Hope you guys had a good Christmas in the Ramage household. I know, Matt, you probably did all the hard work. Shout out to your wife. But let's talk about this game. Like we're kind of talking about, pretty stress-free game. I will say, because I was watching it with my brother and my niece and nephew and my son stayed up way later than he should have because we were at my brother's house and our routine was all thrown off. My son stayed up for the whole game, which usually his bedtime's right about now. Like my wife's probably putting my son to bed right now. And my son stayed up and watched the entire game. I think we went to bed at like 10:30, which explains probably why his routine's so thrown off and why he's waking up weird and he's kind of cranky today, which is fine. I'm cranky too. He's not alone. So I will say, if I'm missing something in this, it's probably because I was distracted while watching the game. I was talking to my brother, talking to my niece and nephew, and just kind of hanging out. But I didn't miss the Packers registering the first shutout of the 2024 season, which is great. I know a lot of people are kind of discounting it because it was against the Saints, who were without a lot of key weapons. But what I will say is, in the NFL, a shutout is very hard, no matter who's playing. Even backups, even third strings, they get paid money too. They are in the top percentage of people in the world that do what they do. And even a third string quarterback, I don't know if Spencer, I would assume Spencer's their third string because I'm sure Hill is their second string and he's out as well. But even a third string quarterback is going to be able to make some great throws and make some good plays. We saw Spencer make some incredible throws. That one where he jumped up over, was it Kingsley? Kingsley slipped, and he kind of did that jump and threw a dart to his, I don't remember if it's a wide receiver or tight end. Incredible throw. So even a third string guy is going to be able to make some throws and make some plays. They had their opportunities. They drove down the field plenty of times, and the Packers created opportunities. We saw the strip sack by Nixon recovered by Gary. We saw Zane Anderson get an interception, which we're going to talk about. So to discredit a shutout strictly because certain players aren't playing is pretty wild to me. These guys are in and out of practice. These guys get paid too. They're in the game plan. And to be able to even get 3 points in a game is usually pretty standard, no matter who you're playing, no matter what. To allow a team to get at least 3 points is pretty common, pretty standard. So to hold them to nothing, no matter the situation, that's a big win. I'm taking that all day long. Now, I will say I think Jordan didn't have any interceptions. He had that one that should have been intercepted. I thought it was intercepted. I'm sure you did as well. But he did finish the game, no interceptions. Not the greatest showing for Jordan. 16 of 28, 182 yards and a touchdown. But like we talked about, he's eliminating mistakes. I don't care if he doesn't throw for 200, 300, 400 yards a game. As long as we're eliminating mistakes and we're putting up points. And that's what the Packers did. The Packers scored over 30 points for the 5th consecutive game in a row. Consecutive means in a row. That's kind of redundant. They scored 30 plus for the 5th game in a row, which is phenomenal. I will take that any day of the week. I don't care what my quarterback stats are. But I do love that. I love how much Jordan is embracing this Toyota-thon meme, conspiracy, whatever you want to call it. I saw you just posted something about it was like a Toyota commercial, but it was altered to be all about Jordan Love, and it was called like Lavoida or something like that, Lavoidathon or something like that, Lovathon, something like that. I don't remember. I didn't watch it that closely. I think it was Lovathon. But he is leaning all in. It sounds like Toyota partnered up with him, so maybe we'll see Toyota extending that Toyota-thon through February. The momentum is rolling. I will say that much. It feels like the momentum's going. That seems like a good marketing ploy. If the Packers keep winning, you can say, hey, we're extending this till February because of Jordan Love, and I'm all for it. We talked about this a little bit last week, but for those of you that weren't here, Jordan Love, when it's not Toyota-thon, he had 3,829 yards over the last 2 seasons, 29 touchdowns, and 25 interceptions. During Toyota-thon, we're looking at 3,465 yards, 27 touchdowns, and only 2 interceptions. And we're still in Toyota-thon. So we're not seeing 2 full seasons of Toyota-thon stats yet. But wow, night and day different. Now, in all actuality, what we're probably seeing is a multitude of different things. We're seeing his knee injury and his leg injury healing up. That makes life a lot easier. That limits or that lowers your turnovers that you're throwing. On top of that, we've kind of seen Love's game evolve. At least this season, it seems like the last handful of weeks we've seen his play really evolve. He doesn't seem like he's looking for that home run ball nearly as often or that hero ball nearly as often. We're seeing him check down to his dump down player that's going to be able to make a cut and make, some positive yardage. We'll talk about some of the breakdowns here, but we saw Josh Jacobs get 4 receptions pretty early in the game for 38 yards. That is limiting the amount of turnovers we're seeing because he's just taking what the defense is giving him as opposed to trying to make this big play every single time. And we're seeing it create success in this offense, which is you really couldn't ask anything more. I don't care if people say, oh, he's a check down merchant or he's a game man. Who cares? When it matters, he can use his arm and do big things, but he seems to be making the higher percentage reads and taking what the defense is giving you. And when you're not in a hole, you don't need to be a hero. You don't need to play that hero ball, and I'm all for it. That one to Tucker, it was like a 4th and 2. We saw Christian wide open down the field. It would have been a walk-in touchdown. And then we saw Tucker with the first down wide open as well. And rather than throwing it to Christian, which in most cases you probably would want him to, but on a 4th and 2, I'm okay taking the easier, higher completion throw to Tucker rather than a deeper throw that, leaves something to go wrong on a 4th and 2. If that was 3rd and 2, hit Watson all day long. But on that 4th and 2, I don't care if you're only picking up 5, 7, 8 yards. Get that conversion, keep the drive going, and reduce the odds that you're going to turn over the ball by having something wonky happen, whether the ball sails on you, whether you leave it short, whether Watson drops it, whether it gets tipped. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. And that I felt like was a great read, a great thought process by Love in that time. Some people might disagree with me, but I'm all for it. Another thing that I love about Love, no pun intended, as of late, he's been spreading around the ball a lot. We saw this past game, Reed had 3 receptions, Kraft had 3 receptions, Jacobs had 4 receptions, Dobbs had 2, Wicks had 3, Wilson and Brooks each had 1. So you see his running backs have got 6 receptions out of his 18 or out of 16 receptions out of his 16 passing completions, his running backs got 6 of those. I will take that all day long. I have no issues with that. I'm curious how you guys feel about that. Are you guys frustrated that he's not airing it out more, or are you guys kind of in the same boat as me? I see, just kind of reading over some comments. Dan, glad to see you survived Christmas, man. Good to see you. Yes, Matt, the collab the world needs. You are right. We definitely need to do something here soon. I see some questions. I'm not going to take questions right now. We are going to be doing our question of the week, so feel free to save some of those. Maybe I'll come back to those. Angry run by Jacobs. Dude, that stiff arm on Tyrone. Whoa. I jumped out of my seat at that one. That was incredible. I'm curious, Chris, like, you would like to see more passing. Do you think passing it more would hinder this offense right now? Everything's running through Jacobs, and that seems to be really creating a lot of success in this offense. We've scored 30-plus points the last 5 games, really putting the ball on Jacobs' shoulders. You look at last year's success when Jordan went on his kind of tear, and a lot of that went through Aaron Jones. It seems like we're kind of doing that same game plan. So I'm curious on your thought. Like, are you okay with seeing more passing if it hinders our offense, if it slows down our offense? Because to keep scoring 30 plus, I mean, you're doing something right there. Just win. Yeah, that's my thought. I mean, you're kind of making the same argument with like a quarterback, right? So Chris says, when you rely on a guy, what if he gets hurt? I mean, that's the NFL, right? What if Love gets hurt or Malik gets hurt, subbing for him? I mean, that's just part of the game. You have Chris Brooks, who's looked really great. You have Emmanuel Wilson, who's looked pretty strong. We're going to be getting Marshawn Lloyd back. I mean, it's just, I mean, if we can keep scoring points, I'm not gonna be too worried about the hypotheticals. I do appreciate, Chris. I appreciate your perspective of it, and obviously I have my perspective, and neither one of us are wrong. It's just, it's a fun conversation. It's definitely a fun conversation. I always like seeing the other side of the coin, right? I want to make sure that I'm not missing something in the thought process. So, Chris, appreciate your insights and what you're providing as far as comments. It's great to hear that other perspective. I do see where you're coming from. If Josh Jacobs gets hurt, then it's a fall on our production. But, Josh could get hurt off of a second carry of the game. And, that's in his position. That's kind of what he signs up for. He's going to be taking a beating. You obviously don't want to overuse him, but you saw the Packers take him out. He could have came back in later in the game, but he did pull himself out and just kind of stayed out to rest up, which is good. They didn't overuse him. They didn't need to hammer him into the game, especially when you have a big lead and the time is dwindling. We saw Josh get 13 carries, which not a ton for a running back. You obviously have those 4 receptions as well, so touched the ball 17 times. He averaged over 5 yards per carry on his rushing attempts. What's pretty remarkable is he already has over 1,200 yards on the season, and this is his 6th year in the NFL. He hit his career best in rushing touchdowns against the Saints on Monday, bringing in his 13th rushing touchdown on the season. His previous best was 12, which he had a couple times during his career. I will say and we've talked about this numerous times, but when Jones was let go they signed Josh and then they let go Jones, I was like, man, that's a big hole for Josh to fill. Josh is an incredible running back, but Jones did so much for this offense, and that is a huge, huge hole for Josh to fill. It seems like Josh has made this hole even bigger for the next running back to fill, because Josh is doing so much for this offense. Like Chris talked about, it seems like he's the workload, or the load is on his shoulders, and it is concerning, because if he does go down, that could really limit your offensive production. So I see where Chris is coming from, but he just looks like a back that is built different. He's kind of like just just keeps going. I don't know. He's such a physical back that I absolutely love it. I did see that he gifted all of the offensive linemen for Christmas. All of them got diamond chains of their numbers. Even like the backup lineman, he just got, I don't know, 12 diamond chains for his offensive linemen, which is, wow, that was probably a very expensive gift. I know Josh Myers talked about it's the first real diamond he thinks he's ever owned, and he's not really sure what to do. But all those boys are going to be looking very, very sparkly. That's for sure. So what a great addition to this team. A great person to have in the locker room, and he's really kind of coming out and showing that he's a leader of this team. Yeah, I don't know. It's great addition, and I'm super excited to have him. And he talked about coming to Green Bay, and this is, Josh mentioned that this feels like the most fun he's had in the NFL. And one thing he credited it to was the fact that Green Bay feels like he's in college again. And I know a lot of fans, especially in the NFC North, like the opposing fans, like to dog on Green Bay. Like, there's nothing to do in Green Bay. And then you see players like Josh Jacobs come out and say, man, this feels like a college town. Everyone here is all about football. They eat, breathe, sleep football. He said when they got snow, he came outside and his driveway was already taken care of. He didn't have to do any snow removal, and people are just treating him. They're just so happy he's here. What is interesting, if you ever come to Green Bay, or if you're not from Green Bay, people here, that's all they do is football. And it's not in a bad way. Like, it's really nice, actually. Like, football is just so in the DNA of the city that we all are just mindful of it. But what I do love is if you see players out and about, which happens often, I'll see players out at Rustique. I got stuck behind Jordy Nelson at Chipotle one time. I was irritated because he had his hood up, and homeboy was taking forever to order his burrito, and he's ordering a bunch of food. And I'm like, what is going on, dude? I just want to get my burrito and I want to go. And the workers are kind of like all looking at this dude. And I'm like, what is going on? This is taking forever. And I worked in food industry, so I'm not saying anything. I'm just like, come on, man. Let's, you get behind those certain people where you're like, bro, is this like your first time here? Like, let's get it going. I had places to be. I wasn't that mad, but just internal thought at the time. But then I stand up next to him, I kind of look, and it's Jordy Nelson. I'm like, okay, no wonder why everyone's kind of like making sure that everything's extra good for him. But what I will say is funny about being in Green Bay is if you see players out and about, people generally don't bother them. You see kind of other, like I've seen videos online of people pretending to be like Patrick Mahomes or whatever, and everyone in the mall just like flocks to where that guy is. It seems like in Green Bay, people just kind of are used to it. Aaron Rodgers would go to Chives a lot when he was in town. You just leave them be. They'll go to like Pancake Place, and someone posted once that they saw Devonta Adams at Pancake Place, and they went up to him and introduced themselves and said hi to Devonta, and Devonta ended up buying their breakfast. And this person's posting this on Facebook like, what a nice guy. He bought my breakfast. And no one recognized him in the restaurant. And the top comment on it was, everyone knew who he was. People in Green Bay just don't say anything to them. They let them be. And I couldn't agree more. It seems like, for the most part, there's always going to be those people that will go up and say hi. But for the most part, people just let players be. I saw Jordan Love at Target a couple years ago. We ended up walking by, and I just nodded at him. We just kept going. But people just leave people be when you're a player in Green Bay. So it is pretty enjoyable in that sense that they can probably try to mingle in a little bit and feel like, I don't know, like they're not celebrities. I'm sure in bigger cities they're able to do that either way. So maybe it's a null point at that. But it is just something that's interesting. You'd think that people would flock it a lot more. So I do love that about living in Green Bay, and I love that the city's all about football. How about that defense? We talked about the holding the shutout 34-0, generated 3 sacks, one of which was a turnover, a strip sack by Nixon, recovered by Gary. And then Zane Anderson, he went from being memed about not existing If you're familiar with that meme, a couple of years ago or last year, it was like, oh, Zane Anderson's not a real person. He doesn't exist. That was kind of the running meme because it seems like a fake name and no one really knew who he was or where he was. But he got his first opportunity to start in the defense or to play in defense. Got his first career pass breakup, which ended up being an interception. So he looks like he fit the role pretty well. He looks like he's been studying that role. He looks like maybe he could be another good addition to that safety. And, hopefully we see him continue to get those opportunities because he looked pretty poised in that spot. Shout out to Zane Anderson. He went from being a ghost to haunting the Saints, which was great. Without those 2 turnovers, the Saints probably put some points on the board. So you love to see it. And then Brandon McManus, we went from having a kicking game that was pretty suspicious, every time kicker would trot out, you're like, oh, here we go. To now it feels very, I don't want to say automatic, kickers are going to miss. But when he comes out, I still feel pretty confident. I don't really get the nerves that I had before. He went 2 for 2 on field goals, including a big 55-yarder, and then the 4 for 4 on the extra points, which, man, you love to see it. Nice addition. I do wonder what their plan is going to be going forward on that. Do you sign him to a long extension? Do you try to draft someone? That's a tough conversation. I don't envy Goody for having to make that one. Let's kind of look at some of these comments here. Yeah, I mean, Chris, even with so friendly as long as you aren't wearing an opposing jersey, I will say I do think Green Bay has probably one of the most friendly environments for opposing teams for the fans. There's always going to be bad in every stadium you go to, people that suck in every stadium you go to. I've been to a lot of games with a wide variety of teams, and I've sat next to Bears fans, I've sat next to Vikings fans, I've sat next to Lions fans. Lions fans were honestly the most annoying that I sat by at the game I went to. Out of all the games I've been to, the Lions fans from a divisional games were the most annoying. But the entire time I was at the game, I didn't see anyone really being mean to the fans next to us. You'd kind of give those like those little jabs of like, haha, look at that play or whatever, or your team just did this or what have you. But for the most part, it's all like good-natured fun. No one really is like offended, or we're not like throwing punches or pouring beer on people. I've been to some other stadiums, Minnesota. Some people could be a little bit more harsh. I haven't had too crazy of experiences when I went to Minnesota games. So I do think I think Green Bay is a little bit more Midwest nice, and that doesn't always play to our favor, that's for sure. Let's see here. Just seeing some people. See Alfonso checking in. Good to see Alfonso. Christopher checking in. Go Pack Go. Nicole, Heather, hopefully we can talk about that in the burning hot questions. So feel free to paste that again here once we get to that. We're not too far from the burning hot questions. And as always, we don't talk all sunshine and rainbows, right? We like to talk about kind of some things that went wrong in a game where you won 34-0. There's not as many things to talk about that went wrong or harp on from a negative standpoint. If anything, if we are being super critical, it seems like the offense seemed to slow down quite a bit in the second half. We saw Jacobs, they kind of pulled him out and didn't let him go back in, so I'm sure that's part of it. We saw just some missed opportunities. It seems like we really haven't put together 4 strong quarters. Now, the offense isn't going to score every single drive. That is a fact of life. So they put up 34 points. Anytime you can put up over 30 points, I think that's a win. Even if it feels sluggish at times, as long as you're making the most of those opportunities in the red zone. But if I had to, that would be the one like thing that I harp on, is that it felt like we slowed down a little bit at some points. I know people are making out Minnesota to be this like boogeyman. I saw so many comments of like the Packers aren't going to win against Minnesota next weekend if they keep doing this. And it's like, just pump the brakes. We're taking it a game at a time. Let's not create this like boogeyman situation where one team is invincible unless you go 2007 Patriots on offense every single play. You can win games, a lot of games, by scoring 30 points or more. Now, Minnesota has an incredible defense. Will we be able to do that? I don't know. But the Saints have a lot of playmakers on defense as well. They probably got tired from their offense stalling a lot, but they have a pretty solid defense. They have a lot of good weapons on the defense. So people get paid too. Packers aren't going to score every single drive, and that's okay. You don't need to score every single drive to win in the NFL. It doesn't happen too often that the teams score every single drive. So let's just enjoy wins. We don't need to like look forward. You know, we could be beating Minnesota this weekend, and I'm going to see people say, well, they're not going to beat Detroit in the playoffs if that. It's like, calm down. Just enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride, because this is entertainment, right? The odds of the Packers winning the Super Bowl are very slim every year. I know, percentage wise, it's whatever, but there's 32 teams in the NFL. It is very hard to win a Super Bowl. I know we see dynasties that make it look easier, but it is very hard to win the Super Bowl. And if your happiness only stems on going at a certain record or beating all of these divisional teams every single year and winning the Super Bowl every year, I don't know why you watch football then, because the odds of those things all happening every single year are pretty slim. But there's a lot of happiness in the NFL and in being a football fan that you can get even when your team doesn't win the Super Bowl. There's a lot of happiness year in and year out. And I'll tell you, if you're watching only to be happy if your team wins the Super Bowl, you must hate yourself. Why? I don't know why you do that. It's entertainment to me. I love watching Packers football. I love it as a father. My son and I we'll have football on in the morning while he's playing. He's to this point now where he knows a handful of words, but one word he says a lot is football. And that makes me very proud as a father. And I think, I don't know, this kind of went off on a rant, but man, I love football, and I understand. I go into it knowing that winning a Super Bowl every year is not a realistic thing, but there can be so many fun memories along the way that make that Super Bowl win, if you get it in a 5-year span, that you can see that build up, or you can see those moments or those draft picks that happen that make that possible, that make that journey so much more rewarding. So just enjoy the process. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about the Super Bowl. Don't worry about the playoffs. Enjoy this game, this moment, and it'll be a lot more enjoyable for you. I'll promise you that. I don't know. That's my rant for the night. I feel like I go on rants every episode, but that's my rant for the night. Talking about the NFC North, Minnesota beat Seattle. Interesting game there. I mean, that was a back and forth. Sam Darnold had some magic there at the end, found Justin Jefferson. Lions did what they've been doing all season long to Chicago. They are now 13-2, as well as Minnesota. I know everyone in Detroit is going to be cheering for the Packers this week because the Vikings are 13-2 as well. If the Lions take care of business against the 49ers and the Vikings lose to us, if I'm not mistaken, I think they pretty much clinched up their first round bye. The Packers are 11-4, third in the division at 11-4, which just shows how powerful the NFC North is. Bears are 4-11, and then this week we're seeing Seattle at Chicago, Lions in San Francisco, and the Packers at Minnesota, of course. I do feel like the odds are good that someone from the NFC North is going to be in the Super Bowl this year. What a silly statement. Of course the odds are good. You have 3 of 7 in the playoffs. Stupid statement, my bad. But it feels like the Super Bowl is going to have an NFC North representative, and I just hope it's the Packers. But we will see. Let's start dropping these questions. Let's get into some burning hot questions. Huge shout out to Legendaries for sponsoring the show all season long. they've been so great to work with, and I've been a huge Legendaries fan forever, since the first time I had their delicious wings. Love Legendaries. Couldn't be more proud to be working with them. All season long, when the Packers are playing, you can get wings for $10 a dozen when you are dining in during a Packers game. That's I would assume that extends to the postseason. No other reason why they would be sponsoring me through the Super Bowl, but that is a great deal, and one that anyone should take up. I should take it up on some game where the Packers are away, because that is a great deal. Even if it's not on sale, even if you're not getting wings on a deal, the wings are incredible. Go there anyway. I love Legendaries. I've said that a million times, and I can't thank them enough for the support. They're the best. Their sauces, you can buy them to go as well. If you're in local, you can buy them in grocery stores, and you can order them online if you live too far away. Or if you haven't seen, I'm doing a giveaway for some of my favorite things, which include some Legendary sauces. I'm drawing that winner tomorrow. If you have not entered, go do so. All you need to do is make sure you're following my page, and you need to make sure that you comment with something you're thankful for this holiday season. Simple as that. I'm going to be drawing the winner tomorrow. There's some great things in there. We got Legendary sauces, of course, because they are my favorite. I got some Cerrugi's chocolate, some coffee from Coffee Wizards, a lot of great things. Jerry Kramer book, coffee mug, Straight Cheese gift card. There's some great stuff there. But I'm drawing the winner tomorrow, so make sure you go check that out if you have not. Let's get into some questions. This isn't a question, but it is a fact. George says, best wings in town. Good to see you, George. Also, before I jump into these, let's drop this form again here. If you have not entered the giveaway yet, make sure you do so. It's there. If you have entered, don't do it a second time. One entry per person, please. All right, let's see here. I see some questions. Got to make sure I go back far enough. Man, a lot of great interaction. I appreciate you guys. I see a lot of familiar faces here all season long, and I can't say how much I appreciate you guys. If you are here for the first time, or the 16th time, 15th time, whatever it is, I know I missed a week. I appreciate you guys being here every single week, hanging out, and just chilling. Not watching the Bears game. Bears, as far as like Packers and Bears, I'll be watching every Packers game, but I'm not sure about the other Bears game. Not sure if that's what you're talking about. What was your favorite gift you received for Christmas? Ooh, that is a tough one. Favorite gift I received for Christmas. I received a lot of really, really great stuff. A lot of really generous people in my life. My parents got me, my wife and I, they got us a Rustique gift card and a gift card to a coffee shop in town, which is great. I love gifts like that because my wife and I love going to Rustique and we love getting coffee. I make a lot of coffee at home, but it's nice to go out every once in a while. My brother, of course, getting me the Paul Hornung rookie card. I am a lover of history, and to have a 1957 Paul Hornung rookie card is an incredible addition to my Packers collection. And then my wife got me the three quarterbacks picture, the Bart Starr, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers picture, which is great. It's been one of those things that's been on my list for a very long time, like every year, but I also try to give her a wide variety of stuff, and she kind of just picks different stuff. And this year, finally, I think I harped on it enough. I was like, hey, am I gonna have to go buy this picture? I give it to you on every holiday. Am I gonna have to go buy this picture myself? And we finally got it. So that was a big win. Those are a few of my favorites. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm very appreciative of all the things I get. You know, anytime anyone thinks of me and gets me a gift, that's very nice. Yeah, those are probably the top things there. Let's see here. I see Tully. Tully, I hope everything's going well, man. Thinking of you guys. Hope you had an enjoyable cruise. I know you're kind of and doing your thing right now, but hopefully you guys had an enjoyable cruise. But if you were the Packers, how would you try and keep fans from doing the wave on offense? LaFleur looked pissed. Dude, I have been joking or toying around with the idea of doing like a wave, a no wave zone merch. I hate the wave. I don't do the wave if it's defense. I don't do the wave if it's family night. My son will not be doing the wave. We are an anti-wave family in this household. My wife does not do the wave. We sit there and sulk like season ticket holders yelling at people to sit down. Um, I hate the wave. I don't know how you stop it, to be honest with you. The only way I can think of is, there's always those people that are like, they stand up and they're turning around and they're like pointing, like, come on. The only way I think you do it is like security kind of keeps an eye out for it. When it starts up, you just go down there and you say, hey, we're not doing the wave. Like, cut it. We're not doing the wave. It drives me absolutely bonkers that when offense is on the field, that fans feel this need to do the wave. It is the most ridiculous thing to me. Chad, you got my blood pressure going. I'm with LaFleur. I don't care if I'm up 55-0. If I see the wave on offense, I'm pissed as well. I don't want to see the wave, period, especially if it's on offense. That's my other rant. Bailey coming to town next weekend, so I'm sure Legendaries is on the agenda. Bailey, I mean, you're I don't know. I'm still remembering you criticizing them last time. So hopefully you get a better experience. Keith says, Jair Alexander, what's going on? I think he tore his PCL. The Packers are probably being a little bit more, I don't know. You're just not taking the risk. You're being a little bit more conservative. There's no point. We don't need to rush him along. We're in the postseason. As nice as it would be to beat Minnesota, it really isn't going to benefit us a ton. Now, if we play Jair and Jair re-aggravates it or makes it worse or does something where he's out longer, that hinders the Packers more. So I don't know that there's really anything going on. I think you let him rest. You make sure he's ready for postseason where you're actually going to need him. If we're in a point where we need Jair to make into the postseason, maybe we see them move him along a little bit quicker or push it a little bit more. There's no benefit right now to rushing him along. I hope that he plays next week so he can kind of get out some of that rust. But there's really no benefit in like rushing it along. And I know Minnesota fans are going to chirp because they're like, oh, Jair's scared of Justin. Blah, 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 blah. Who cares? Who cares what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They can chirp. That's fine. I don't care. I would much rather Jair be ready when we actually need him and when he's going to provide the most value to this team rather than a game where it doesn't really impact much. Maybe it impacts some seeding, but not much. It really doesn't impact much for the Packers. So that's my 2 cents on it. I don't really care. Alfonso, good to see you, man. Appreciate you swinging in. First time being here. That's great. I really appreciate it. Oh, Chris says, Chris, I appreciate all the dialogue you're bringing. Appreciate it, man. Who's your favorite player you've met? I have been so fortunate to meet so many different people. Over the years, I've had a lot of great interactions with Desmond Bishop, which if you've listened a lot, you've heard those. If you listened to the podcast I did, you heard me kind of talk about that as well. Over the years, I've gotten to know him more on a personal level. I've gotten to know his family. I've gotten to go to his house for dinner, and I've gotten to do a lot of really incredible things that I would have never dreamt I would be able to do. That's my favorite player I've ever met, just because that interaction's grown beyond just being a fan. But I will say I've had so many incredible interactions with players. I met Dave Robinson, and I've had some really great interactions with him numerous times. I've talked about that. Jerry Kramer's always been phenomenal to meet. Every time you meet Jerry, it feels like a different story from him about Lombardi or the era in which he played. Couldn't be a better guy. I'm trying to think. There's just been so many great guys I've gotten to meet. Charlie Pepper, I've gotten to meet him and know him pretty well on a personal level. I got to hang out with him for uh, a handful of time. We talked probably for about an hour. I got to hang out with him, and we talked about the Super Bowl season and his life even outside of football. So that's been really enjoyable. I'm super fortunate. I've had so many opportunities and so many opportunities I probably don't deserve, but I'm super grateful for. When Oren Burks was a rookie, I'm thinking about it because I'm wearing my Legendary shirt. When Oren Burks was a rookie, he posted something like, "Oh, I want to dine at more local spots," and I hit him up and I was like, "Hey, man, Legendary's on me," and he took me up on that, and I took him out to Legendary's with Kendall Donnerson and Marcus. I don't know why I'm struggling to think of Marcus's last name right now. All three were rookies. All brought them out. I paid for them to go to Legendaries, but it was a cool experience to sit there and hang out with them, learn a lot more about them. And I know none of them are on the Packers anymore, but still a super cool experience. But I'm so fortunate, man. I don't deserve a lot of these interactions I've had, but I'm so fortunate that I've got them. And yeah, really, really awesome. Derek's always popping in with some great questions, so I'm excited to read this one. Haven't even read it. I highlighted it. We'll see. Do you think there's more going on with Jair than just being injured, like some problems with we had with him last year? I don't think so. I think really we saw him get injured. I don't even remember what game that was this year. We saw him hurt the PCL. He tried coming back. He re-aggravated it. I think it's just the Packers are just being conservative. Their medical team is a more conservative medical team. And there's no reason, there's no upside to rushing him back. There's no upside to bringing him back in a game, especially if you don't feel he's 100%, to bring him back in a game where there's no upside. It's if the Packers were still chasing a playoff spot, if the Packers were chasing the 1 seed, if the Packers were chasing the division, maybe it's a different conversation. But they're not chasing any of those things. The Packers have a playoff spot. The Packers can't win the division. The Packers can't get the 1 seed. I mean, you're still going to play your starters and stuff, but if a guy is on the if he's on the skirts about playing, I don't know. I think you just let him rest. We saw Evan Williams. They're keeping him out until the postseason as well because he tweaked something. So I don't know if it's just like the Packers saying, hey, there's no point in rushing these guys along. Would rather have them when we need them than try to move them early and then re-aggravate something, and now we miss them all postseason. So I don't know. That's my thought on it. I don't know. Let's see here. Yeah, Bailey, I've been to too many games as well where the crowd is, they just don't, people get excited and I understand that, but I wish people put in the energy of like cheering when they're supposed to cheer versus when they're not supposed to cheer. I wish they put in that much energy there as they do it, like telling you to sit down during the game. My friend Wade stayed at my house while I was gone because he went to the game with his cousins. I don't know if Wade's in here tonight. I haven't seen him, but he said within like the first 2 minutes, someone was yelling at them to sit down. He's like, if you stand up, I'm not going to be able to stand up or I'm not going to be able to see it. It's like, well, why don't you stand up? I can't stand. So I think if people put that much energy into like cheering when they should cheer or when they're, putting the energy there, I think would be better off. I do think like, what could an owner do to really emphasize that? The Clippers are owned by a former Microsoft high up. I think Steve Bannon? Is that his name? I'm probably wrong on that. But the Clippers were purchased by a Microsoft high up, and he has made it where each seat registers the noise level that seat's producing, and he awards the top noise producer of each game with something, whether it's stuff from the concession stand or merch or what have you. I think the prize should be a little bit better. If I were an owner, I would like to do something like that, where each seat you kind of register the noise level, and the person who's making the most amount of noise at the appropriate time is going to get a prize. I think that's a way that you do it, because that's a super cool thing here. Ron, good to see you, man. Hope you had a good Christmas. Hope everything's good there. Let's see. Derek, you're preaching to the choir, man. Stay home if you want to sit down. I get it, man. I'm trying to be mindful, right? Because when you get older, Steve Ballmer, thank you. I think Steve Bannon's something political, if I'm not mistaken. Steve Ballmer, thank you. Going back to that tangent, stay home if you want to sit down. And I get it. There's a balance, right? There's going to come a day where I'm old and I'm not going to be able to stand up and sit down and stand up and sit down and stand up for long periods of time. I understand that. And that's where you're kind of trying to be mindful, right? Like you're trying to be, I don't know. Do I think fans should stand up the entire game? I don't know. I mean, you take that risk when you go to a sporting event. But at least like if you're sitting down on offense makes a big play, you stand up. Cool. Sit down afterward, no problem. On defense, if people are standing and yelling, stand up and yell. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. There are club seats. You could sit in the club. You could sit up high. You could sit. There's opportunities or options where places you could sit where you could probably sit the entire game. But I'm with you, man. If I'm to the point where I'm struggling to stand up or struggling to stand up and get down, I think the last thing I'm going to want to do is like walk up the steps at Lambeau, up and down those, and deal with the whole game day thing. I don't think going to a game and getting upset every time someone stands up is worth it. You'd probably just be better off sitting, or staying home and sitting. Yeah, Janelle, you're come to the realization that you're going to miss some plays because your knees are bad, and that sucks, right? Like that, getting old sucks. And I will say, okay, I grew up skateboarding. I skateboarded for 20 years, probably, give or take. I'm not going to be able to do that forever. That sucks. And I right now I can't do it the same way that I used to. I can't fall. Concrete does not feel as soft at 35 as it did at 15. And that's unfortunate, but that's just part of getting old, unfortunately. I can't enjoy that activity or that hobby. I can still find ways to enjoy it. I can still go cruise around. I can still watch skateboarding videos. I can still enjoy skateboarding. I just physically can't do it the same way. My ankles don't work as well. My knees suck now. And cement is really hard. And I think it's kind of the same thing with Packers games. There are ways that you can still enjoy it. You can buy front row seats of a section, right? If you want to be in the club section, there's not very many seats there. Sit there. Odds are you're not going to be standing as much. You're going to be higher up. You're going to be able to see stuff. Understand that maybe you go to a game and you miss some games or miss some plays. That's part of it. Or just enjoy it from home. When you went years ago, when you went to games, you did so because the broadcast was terrible. The quality was terrible. Nowadays, you can watch stuff at home, HD, and you're not missing anything. I don't know. That's just, another rant here. Let's I know we're going crazy on time here, and I'm kind of running late. Let's get into this giveaway here. I hope you guys entered. If so, we're kind of running behind. I don't know that I necessarily have time. But a huge thank you once again for Legendaries for sponsoring that Burn Hot question. But moving over to the giveaway side of things, I have to thank Nikolai Law. Super excited to announce that it sounds like your boy is being extended with Nikolai Law. I know we talked about it last week that I wasn't sure. My contract's coming up here soon. And it sounds like we're going to be extended out a little bit more, which is really good. I have another project that I'm working on, or that I'm going to be working on, so more to come on that. But it sounds like Nikolai is going to be part of that and part of the page going forward, which I couldn't be more appreciative of. All season long, Nikolai's doing giveaways on this show and really helping us give back to the people who are enjoying the show, which I could not be more appreciative of. So thank you, Nikolai Law. As always, if you are injured, get Nikolai. And as always, if the Packers lose, the next week we're doing double giveaways, because when bad things happen in your life, even when it's something as small as the Packers losing, Nikolai is there and Nikolai has your back. So thank you, Nikolai Law. I appreciate them immensely. So, is this about my rant? The fact that I'm ranting a lot Ramage has been rubbing off on you. Yeah, I mean, Matt and I talk a lot, so it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not as good at trash talk as Matt. I'll never be as good at trash talk as Matt. But yeah, that's not a bad thing. Matt's my guy. Chris swinging in. Good to see you, man. Hope you guys had a good Christmas. Hope Santa Claus was good to Kaylee. I appreciate you swinging in. I have heard that Nicolay billboards have in fact hit Iowa. I think Chad, I think you sent me a picture of one if I'm not mistaken. Either that or you told me that they're coming in. So that's great to hear. But let's draw this giveaway winner. Let me get this. As always, I want to make sure that I'm not blasting any email addresses here. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to get this list going. How was your guys' Christmas, by the way, or your holiday for those that celebrate? Did everyone have a good time? Eat some good food, I hope. It's always good when you can find an excuse to get together, eat some good food, and just hang out and enjoy some good company. All right. I see 23 entries. Let's get this shared here. You would think for how often I do this that I would remember how to share my screen in a quick manner. But boy, oh boy, is that not the case. So we're only doing one giveaway this week. Our scenario, if I'm not mistaken, was Jaden Reed 50 plus yards rushing last week, which he did not hit. And the Packers won. So, of course, if you are new to the show or the first time watching, we do a scenario drawn every week. And if that scenario hits, we do a bonus giveaway. Because Nicolay said, hey, Ben, we're just not giving away enough stuff. We need to give away more stuff to your viewers. So, but we only have one this way, or this round. So good luck to everyone. I'm excited to see what we got this week. Oh, Christopher, new name. Christopher, if you are in here, please give me a comment 1 through 40, up or down, and let's see what you win this week. Thank you. And if not, maybe we'll end up drawing. But Christopher, I hope you come forward and claim your prize. There's no last name in there, so hopefully, let's see here. Oh, I would assume you're still in here. You gave your full name. Chris, we were talking earlier. I would assume you're still in here. So 1 through 40, up or down, if you will, please. Yeah, Derek, you hit it right there. You know, not trying to disrespect anyone, you know, that can't stand. I definitely understand. I don't think anyone's thinking that we're disrespecting anyone, but yeah, when people sell their tickets for hundreds over face value and drive to a game, you want to enjoy it. I would assume it's you, Chris. You just put a first name, so it looks like I'm looking at the email address. It looks like it's the email address is your last name with a couple initials in there. I'm not trying to dox you, and then your first name. So I would assume it's you. So 30 and up, I see you there. Oh, Phil, that's sorry to hear that, man. I hope everything goes better there for you. James, you were close to winning. You were the next one up. If the wheel would have spun about 4 ticks more, I think you'd have won. But Chris won that one. 30 and up, which leaves us with 34. Let's see what you won. I am not going to ship this out. Fair warning, Chris. I'm not going to ship this out until after we do next show. I want to bundle those together. So, all right. We have... You got a Zeke Brakowski 8x10, the super sub. I think someone just won one of those last week too, which is odd. Odds of that happening, but I'll shoot you an email to get your address on where I should send that. But I'll get that out to you next week then. Once again, if you do watch the show weekly, we're going to be mixing it up again next week, and it's going to be on Monday. So my apologies. My hope is after that we can go back to Tuesdays now that we're going to be on the other side of the holidays. But New Year's Eve, no one wants to hear me talk. People got other things going on. But huge thank you to Nikolai Law for those giveaways. Before we do jump into the talking about the Vikings briefly, let's draw our scenario for the week to see if we're going to be getting. All right, here's the scenario we need to hit for a bonus giveaway this week. Good luck. Chad, that's right. Tiffany got the other Zeke last week. Scenario that we need is no offensive turnovers. That would be huge. That would be huge for the Packers as far as if they're wanting to get a win. So if the Packers can get if the Packers go throughout the whole game and get no offensive turnovers, then we will be doing another giveaway, a bonus giveaway. Thanks to Nikolai Law, as always. So awesome. Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this game. I'm not going to spend a ton of time. I'm already running behind. I've been yakking. I've been going on too many rants. Matt's rubbing off on me. I got too many rants going on. But this is how things are looking as far as averages for the Packers and Vikings. Green Bay, I was surprised. Green Bay's leading in a lot of these areas. Offensively, everything except average passing yards, Green Bay's leading. Green Bay's not far behind as far as average passing yards per game. Defensively, it's kind of split. From a defensive perspective, the Packers are better in the passing and total yards. And then Minnesota's better in average rush yards, which is going to be crucial. Right there, I think their rush defense was like top 3, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to be pretty crucial. If the Packers are going to win, the Packers need to get Josh Jacobs going. And they're a solid rush team, rush defense. Their defense is also not allowing a ton of points, 18.4 on average per game, where the Packers are looking at 19.1. So pretty close there. Turnovers. I was very surprised to see the Vikings have generated 30 turnovers this season. That's a lot of turnovers. Packers are just behind them with 28. The Vikings have 22 interceptions on the year, which is a lot, where they've only generated 8 turnovers from a fumble. But collectively, the Packers are plus 12, where the Vikings are plus 10, because the Packers generally tend to give it away less. Packers, they're tied as far as giveaways for interceptions, fumbles. I know Aaron Jones had his issues this year with them, and they've collectively have given the ball away 20 times to the Packers 16. As far as the Packers and Vikings all time, what we're looking at is this is the 129th game between these two franchises. The Packers are leading the series 65-59 with 3 ties. Or excuse me, my eyes are not that good. The Packers are leading the series 66 wins, 59 losses, and 3 ties, which includes a 1-on-1 postseason record. I remember the Joe Webb postseason game. And then the Vikings beating them. What was that? 2003 or 2004 that the Vikings beat the Packers in the playoffs. Maybe it was before that. Maybe I'm getting old. Yeah, I mean, really, it was pretty interesting to see though that the Packers offensively look so much better in so many places, or maybe not so much better, but they look better in so many places. Considering the Vikings offense has looked just great all season long, but their defense has really been stifling. And it's interesting to see that the Packers have some edge on the defense. So it should be a really, really good game. The last time these two teams played feels like a lifetime ago. Both teams are very different than where they were earlier in the year, whether it's from injuries or different things or players coming forward. And the shakeup of the teams, it's going to be an interesting one. I'm pretty excited for it. That's for sure. The game was flexed. If you did not see the memo, the game was flexed. It's no longer a noon game. It's now a 3:25 game. So if you're going to the game, make sure you go there at the right time. That's right, Tony. Who could forget that? Moss mooning the crowd. Which, speaking of Randy Moss, thoughts and prayers go out to him. Hope he's okay with whatever he's got going on. I saw that he has cancer right now, and he's kind of dealing with that. So I hope everything goes there. I hated when he was a Viking. I hated playing against him. I hated everything about him as a player. Now that I've gotten older and he's out of the NFL, I look back on that rivalry and that feud fondly, and I have a lot more appreciation for Randy Moss. So I hope everything goes well for Randy. Hated playing against him. That 1998 season sucked as a young kid with a brother who is a Vikings fan and a big rivalry at home. That season was horrible, and those years he was a Viking and torching us was a tough one. So I know usually I end every show with a story of the week of Packers history or what have you. This week I'm mixing it up a little bit. I didn't have a lot of time to like prep for the episode because I was doing holiday stuff. So this week I'm going to mix it up a little bit. The story I'm telling this week is about one of the stories of me going to watch the Packers and Vikings play in the Metrodome. Normally someone's in here, a guy named Jordan is in watching the show week in and week out. But this is one of my favorite moments or games that I've been to. So the Packers and Vikings, the 2010 season, we saw Favre go back to Lambeau Field. Really close game. The Packers snuck that game out. That was my favorite game of the 2010 season, minus the Super Bowl. But because that feud was so bad, that hatred of Favre was so bad in 2010, that rollover from 2009 and feeling so exhausted to do it again in 2010, to beat him, to have Desmond Bishop get a pick six in that game was like chef's kiss to me. Just like the best. Well, the Packers are heading into Minnesota that year, and I get a phone call the night before. It's like 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., something like that. I get a phone call, and a friend of mine was out at a bar. She says, I'm sitting here at a bar. A guy next to me hit a bear this morning, and it totaled his car. He's supposed to go to the game tomorrow, the Packers and Vikings game. He has 3 tickets, and he wants to know if anyone wants to buy them for $30 a piece. So I'm like, are they real? Can you look at them? Can you verify? She's like, I don't know anything about football tickets. I don't know anything. $30 a piece. He's offering them to anyone at the bar. Do you want them? There's 3 of them. I said, yeah, just take them. That's fine. I'll take the risk. $30 a piece. So I get them. They're real. So my brother, Vikings fan, big Vikings fan. And at the time, if I'm not mistaken, Vikings were still trying to stay in that hunt of making the postseason. Their season hadn't been done yet. It was still like a pretty big deal. So I bought the tickets, 3 of them. And my brother's like, I was like, I don't know who else to go with us. My brother's like, I got a friend. He's going to come with. And Jordan, who's usually watching here, I told him I was going to tell this story this week. My brother calls Jordan. I'd never met Jordan. We meet in Hudson, which is just on the other side of it's just the city right over the Minnesota-Wisconsin border in Wisconsin. We meet there. Jordan is just like trash talking my brother the whole ride to the game. He is hyped up. He's a big dude. He's tall. He's a big dude. We go to the game. We're in the very last row of the Metrodome. Just absolutely last row. They give game day brochures on every seat with Brett Favre on it. And if you've ever watched a Vikings game, I'm sure you're all aware, every time the Vikings do anything positive, that damn horn goes off. It's the worst sound in all of sports. While we're there, the game's going, and Jordan is trash talking every Viking fan around us. He's drunk. He's just trash talking everyone around us. And the game is a blowout. I think the Packers won like 31-3 or 31-7. I don't remember what it was. It was a blowout, absolute blowout. And Jordan is rolling up his program, and he's doing the Vikings horn in the ears of the guys in front of us every single time the Packers do something, just to remind them how annoying that damn horn is. And it was one of my favorite games that I've been to in person, not because the Packers beat them and just beat the brakes off them, which was very satisfying at that time, but it was the only game my brother and I have went to, Packer Viking game that my brother and I have went to together, which is great. But then if you remember, like 2 weeks later, the Metrodome like collapsed from the heavy snowfall. So it felt like it was just such a perfect gift for that going away present for me. While we're at this game, the person next to us is by themselves, and we're like, "Were you here? Are you here because someone hit a bear?" And just like, "Yeah, I am." So we're like, we're all hyped. We're chanting and cheering for this dude hitting a bear in poor taste, of course. Poor guy dealing with hitting a bear, but it's the one time I've been very it's the one time I could probably cheer for a bear and be okay with it. But yeah, that's anytime I think of the Packers playing the Vikings. They don't even play in the Metro Dump anymore, but anytime I think of the Packers playing the Vikings in Minnesota, that is the memory I think of, and it's one I wanted to share with you guys. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. I appreciate you listening to my stories that I'm not great at telling, but yeah, appreciate you guys hanging out. If it's your first time or your 15th being here, thank you guys so much. As always, thanks to Legendaries and Nicolay for Nicolay Law for sponsoring the show. Without them, it wouldn't be possible. So thanks to all you guys. And I will see you guys on Monday. Go Pack Go, and hopefully we're having a victory Monday together and talking football. So have a good rest of your week. Have a great weekend. Let's go kick some Vikings tail, and we'll talk to you guys on Monday at 7:30. So go Pack Go, and thanks again.